In the shadows where truth and tales intertwine, we find the thrilling, the chilling, the downright spine-tingling. From the paranormal to the peculiar, every echo has a story. Dare to delve into the unexpected, the unexplained? Brace yourself, for you're about to embark on a journey where fear meets fascination. Stay tuned if you dare, for stories that will make your heart race and your mind ponder. Welcome to the realm of the eerie, the realm of the unknown. And remember, like and subscribe, if you dare. In the fading light of dusk, Jason, an experienced ranger, warned his colleague Dwayne about the Mothman. Jason's voice held an eerie tension as he described the creature. "The Mothman," he began, "is no ordinary beast. It's a large, gray, humanoid entity with massive wings that can blot out the moon. Its eyes, they're the worst part, Dwayne. Piercing red orbs that seem to stare right into your soul." Dwayne, a man of logic, found the tale amusing. "You're pulling my leg, Jason. Next, you'll tell me Bigfoot is our park manager." He laughed, dismissing Jason's warning as a mere folk tale. The radio crackled to life then. Dispatch reporting a child gone missing in their vicinity. Dwayne's laughter faded. "I'll investigate," he said, rising from his chair. As he grabbed his gear, he turned back toward Jason, a smirk on his face. "I'll be sure to keep an eye out for the Mothman." With a sarcastic chuckle, Dwayne dismisses the tale of the Mothman and heads into the forest to find the missing child. Dwayne ventures into the dark, dense forest, the silence punctuated only by the rustling of leaves underfoot. His heart pounds in his chest as he navigates the labyrinth of towering trees and shadowy undergrowth. His mind, although skeptical, can't help but recall Jason's tales of the Mothman, a creature of nightmares that supposedly lurked within these woods. The forest's eerie silence is broken by a heart-wrenching sob. Dwayne quickens his pace, pushing through the foliage until he stumbles upon a clearing. A woman, Sally, is caught in the throes of despair. Her tear-streaked face tells a story of terror and loss. He tries to soothe her, his voice a calming balm against her piercing cries. With trembling lips, Sally tells him of her missing child, Jimmy, and her husband, who had gone after the creature that took him. Dwayne feels a chill run down his spine, the image of the Mothman looming large in his mind. But he shakes it off, rationalizing that it could have been a large bird of prey. He promises Sally he'll find her family and sets off again, this time with a renewed sense of urgency. The trail leads him upwards, towards the looming silhouette of the mountain. The terrain grows steeper, the undergrowth thicker, and the air thinner. His legs protest with each step, but he perseveres, driven by the thought of the terrified boy and his father. Hours pass and Dwayne grows anxious. He should have found the husband by now. Suddenly, a drop of something warm splashes onto his forehead. He wipes it off, only to find his hands smeared with blood. His eyes dart upwards and he freezes. The husband's lifeless body hangs from a tree, torn apart by something monstrous. His radio only picks up static when he tries to call it in. The horror of the situation sinks in, and Dwayne can't help but think of Jason's warning about the Mothman. As he wipes a drip of blood from his forehead, Dwayne realizes the gravity of the situation. Looking up, Dwayne makes a grisly discovery. The husband, once a pillar of strength for his family, now lay mauled and lifeless in the tree overhead. His body was grotesquely torn open, a grim testament to the monstrous power of the unseen predator. Dwayne reached for his radio, intending to report the gruesome scene. But instead of the crisp voice of his fellow rangers, he was met with nothing but static. The isolation of the mountainside seemed to swallow his voice, leaving him alone with the chilling silence. Dwayne steeled himself, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew that whatever had done this could still be lurking in the shadows. But the chilling thought of little Jimmy meeting the same fate pushed him forward. This was no longer just a rescue mission, it was a race against time and a battle against an unknown terror. The mountain trail was treacherous and steep. Each step seemed to sap his energy, yet he pushed onward, driven by a desperate hope. His mind raced with thoughts of Jimmy, alone and terrified. The boy's innocent face was a stark contrast to the brutal scene Dwayne had just left behind. The forest was eerily quiet, the usual chirping of birds and rustling of leaves, replaced by an unsettling silence. The only sound was his heavy breathing and the crunch of leaves beneath his boots. Despite the cold, beads of sweat trickled down his face, the result of both exertion and fear. Dwayne's mind kept returning to the husband's mangled body. The image was seared into his memory, a horrifying reminder of what he was up against. He couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched, the sensation of unseen eyes tracking his every move. It was as if the forest itself had turned against him. But the thought of little Jimmy, lost and scared, kept him going. He had to find the boy before it was too late. He had to face whatever was out there, no matter how terrifying it might be. With the image of the husband's brutal end etched in his mind, Dwayne trudges onward. At the top of the mountain, a cave looms ominously. Dwayne is poised at the base, steeling himself for the climb. His legs are burning from the strenuous trek, his breath coming in ragged gasps. He shakes off the fatigue, reminding himself of the urgency of his mission. Little Jimmy's life hangs in the balance. With a determined grit, he starts his ascent, his hands finding precarious purchase on the rough cliff face. Every muscle in his body screams in protest, but he pushes on, driven by the desperate need to find the missing child. The wind whips around him, threatening to unseat him from his precarious perch, but he clings on, his resolve unwavering. Finally, he reaches the mouth of the cave. The air is heavy with a stench so foul it turns his stomach. He fights back the bile rising in his throat, forcing himself to focus. The cave is a gaping maw of darkness, swallowing all light and hope. He steps into the abyss, the pitch black swallowing him whole. His heart pounds in his chest as he ventures deeper into the cave. The darkness is oppressive, suffocating, like a physical entity trying to consume him. The only sound is the echo of his own footsteps and the distant drip of water, each drop echoing like a death knell in the cavernous space. Suddenly, he stumbles upon a clearing. The temperature rises significantly, the heat radiating from a gaping hole in the ground. The hole is spewing hot steam, the heat so intense it makes him sweat profusely. He wipes his forehead, the sweat mixing with the dirt on his face. His eyes scan the area, trying to penetrate the darkness. And then he spots it. A small figure huddled in the corner. His heart leaps in his chest. "Jimmy," he breathes out, relief washing over him. But his relief is short-lived as he takes in the boy's pale, terrified face. As the heat intensifies, Dwayne spots a small figure huddled in the corner. His heart pounds in his chest as he realizes that the true horror of this night is far from over. In the depths of the cave, Dwayne comes face to face with the legend of the Mothman. A chill runs down his spine as he spots Jimmy, cowering in the corner. The boy's eyes, wide with terror, are a mirror to the fear gnawing at Dwayne's own heart. He approaches slowly, whispering assurances. "Jimmy, are you okay? Your mom and dad sent me." As if in response, Jimmy lifts a trembling hand pointing upwards. Dwayne follows the direction of the boy's finger, and his blood runs cold. Clinging to the ceiling is a vast, dark mass. It unfolds itself, revealing a monstrous figure. It's the Mothman. As real as the dread coursing through Dwayne's veins, the creature's piercing red eyes fixate on him, a gaze that feels like a knife cutting through his soul. The Mothman unfurls its wings, the span of which is beyond comprehension. Its muscular build is a grotesque mix of man and beast, with arms ending in long, sharp claws. The sight of it is enough to freeze any man in terror, but Dwayne knows he can't afford to be petrified. Not when Jimmy's life is at stake. The cave is filled with an ear-splitting screech, a sound so intense it brings Dwayne to his knees. He tries to shield his ears, but the sound is all-consuming, a sonic wave of terror that shakes him to his core. In the blink of an eye, the Mothman descends from the ceiling, its claws slashing through the air. Dwayne's survival instincts kick in. He draws his gun, the cold metal a small comfort in his trembling hands. He aims and fires, the sound of the gunshot echoing through the cave. The bullet hits the Mothman, causing it to recoil. It lets out another screech, this one filled with rage and pain. The Mothman takes flight, disappearing into a hole from which hot steam spews out. Dwayne's heart is pounding in his chest, but he doesn't let relief wash over him just yet. He rushes over to Jimmy, pulling the boy into his arms. Jimmy clings to him, shaking like a leaf in a storm. With the screeching echo of the Mothman still ringing in his ears, Dwayne escapes with Jimmy, leaving the cave and its monstrous resident behind. His legs are burning, his breath ragged, but the relief of having Jimmy safe overpowers his exhaustion. The forest that had seemed so ominous earlier now feels like a haven. The nightmare is over, but the memory of the Mothman with its burning red eyes and monstrous form will forever be etched in Dwayne's mind. As he steps out of the forest, the first rays of dawn paint the sky. He looks down at Jimmy, the boy's eyes finally losing their terrified look. Dwayne manages a weary smile. They've survived the night, survived the Mothman. In the safety of the outside world, Dwayne clings tightly to Jimmy. His heart pounds in his chest as he navigates through the dense forest. Every rustle, every shadow sends a shiver down his spine. He's no longer just a ranger, he is a survivor, a protector. Dwayne can't help but replay the encounter with the Mothman, the creature of legend that is now a horrifying reality. He can still feel the heat of the cave, the high-pitched screech that seemed to pierce his very soul, the sight of those piercing red eyes burning into his memory. He shudders, trying to shake off the terror. Every step they take is a step away from the nightmare. Dwayne reassures Jimmy, his voice a steady whisper against the silence of the forest. He promises safety, a return to normalcy, even as his own heart struggles to believe it. As they emerge from the forest, Dwayne can't shake the image of the Mothman from his mind, a chilling reminder that some legends are rooted in terrifying reality. And so, our tale of the Campfire Horrors comes to an end. Until next time, sleep tight. Before we part ways, dear viewers, remember to stay vigilant. The Campfire Horrors may have been extinguished for now, but the embers of the unknown always remain. As you lay down to sleep tonight, don't forget the lessons from our tale. Safety is but a fleeting moment in a world of unseen. So, if you've enjoyed this journey into the abyss, don't forget to ring that bell and smash that like button. Do it before the thing under your bed decides to pay you a visit. Oh, and keep those night lights on. You never know what might be lurking in the dark. Thank you for embarking on this terrifying adventure with us, until our paths cross again in another tale of the unknown. Goodbye and sweet dreams, if you can.